I'm truly delighted to welcome you all today as we start our session. We are towards the end of March now, ending the financial year of 2023-24, and we understand this time is of utmost high importance. We wish you all the best while closing your ears in huge true spirits. Hello, everyone. I'm Ipsita Roy, moderator for the webinar session today. Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016 has seen several amendments since the time of inception in March 2016. While the wave of EPR and the obligations for the entities in true spirit started witnessing with the release of EPR guidelines as Schedule 2 to the rules in 2022 February. Still, the trend of updates and amendments and the remarkable work of the regulatory authorities in bringing about the transformation in the industry is commendable. Today, as we start our webinar, our founder, Mr. Abhishek Garg, will be talking about the recent amendment released on March 14, focusing on the key highlights and changes in the obligations for the obligated entities. We have also shared the query form in relation to the amendment, and we have received wonderful feedback. A lot of new queries, which we will pick up in the webinar. Before we start, I request your kind attention on the meeting rules. The meeting will be recorded. Please note that our conversation will be confined exclusively to the matters pertaining to the plastic waste management rules, ensuring a targeted and productive discussion. Note that all the attendees are on mute. For any person speaking, please use the raise hand feature. The moderator shall unmute and allow to speak in the Q&A round. Kindly introduce yourself briefly and your organization and ask the question. In view of the time limitations, we would request all to avoid repetitive questions. You may also please keep entering your queries in the chat box. Without further ado, I welcome Mr. Abhishek Garg to kick off the session.
Thank you, Ipshita, for setting up the context, and thank you everybody for joining in today and being in the year end and taking out time to know more about this EPR amendment which has happened. So, without any further, investing time on discussion, directly delving into the PWM amendments which has happened on 14th March 2024. Before getting into this detail, let me give you a overall view that this has been a significant amendment of 2024 March. Am I audible, Ipshita?
Yes, you are.
Ipshita? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been a major amendment in which the extension of obligation has increased, the obligated entities has increased. So you would be able to understand how this will be impacting us as the separate different obligated entities. But yes, this particular slide I believe will keep on evolving as the PWM rules will evolve in coming times as well. So this is the one of the major amendment which has happened. Please move ahead. Now let's get into the key highlights of the 14th March amendment which has happened, and there has been milestone changes which has taken place with the effect of this 14th March amendment. Firstly, very importantly, the definition of producer has changed significantly, and which now includes the contract manufacturers as well and the manufacturer of intermediate materials. Second, the micro and small producers are not obligated for the EPR liability, but very importantly, they still need to register and they need to do the compliances of reporting of purchases and sales. But for such small micro and small producers, the obligation will lie up to the manufacturers. So we'll tell about the manufacturers that there's a new additional obligated entity has been added to the PWM regulations. Further, there has been a change in the importer definition as well, which now includes the obligated entity to become obligated if they are importing plastic packaging or product with plastic packaging or granules or raw materials for commercial use. So there is has this is a significant change in the importer definition as well. One major landmark thing, category 5 has been added into the obligated categories of plastic packaging, which is biodegradable plastics. Now, this bio for obligation for this biodegradable plastic will be taken up by the manufacturers who are producing and producing such biodegradable plastic items. I'll talk about this more in the upcoming slide. Further, the biodegradable plastics are allowed for specified permitted commodities and carrybacks, which I will again explain in the coming slide. There has been an update and amendment in the marking labeling regulation, which is Rule 11, wherein now for each recycled plastic packaging and commodity, there is an adherence requirement for the Indian Standard 14534 2023. Further, there has been some amendments under the EPR for rules related to EPR certificates. Now, under this, they have included a word verification of EPR certificates. So, the EPR certificate which will be provided by the PIBOs, manufacturers, and registered PWP shall be verified. And in case of differences, the lower figure shall be considered, which has been updated under the regulation. Further, CPCB will issue authorization for establishment of a electronic platform for agencies. So CPCB will be coming out with regulating regulations as how the electronic platform should be established for transaction and trade of EPR certificates between the buyer and seller. So that guideline will come. However, MOFCC has given a min and max price range deciding on the EPR certificate. So they have said the minimum price for EPR certificates to be 30% of the total EC amount, and maximum could be 100% of the EC amount. So the minimum price which is described by MOFCC in during this amendment is 1500 rupees per metric ton for EPR credits and 5,000 rupees metric ton for EPR credits under the regulation. So all those details of electronic platform and how this will happen is yet to be released by CPCB. Also, very importantly, the timeline for filing of annual return for FY 22-23 is extended till 31st March 2024 through the amendment under the regulation. However, yes, the portal is yet to function and it is down, and that is why there could be expectation of extension of deadline for this as well. Go ahead. Now, this particular slide, which talks about the overview of the PWM regulation, has also changed. Now, you can see on this slide, particularly the obligated entities. Previously, there was producer, importer, brand owners, and plastic waste processors. However, two new categories of obligated entities has also been added. So, the manufacturers and importers of raw materials, the companies who manufacture or import plastic raw materials like granules, resins, all those are now obligated under PWM EPR. Further, the manufacturers of items made from compostable or biodegradable plastics are also a different obligated category under the regulation now. As I explained, micro and small producers are exempted, but their obligation needs to be taken by the manufacturers. There is one more category of entities introduced is seller. However, their obligation, their registration requirements and details are yet to be clarified, but this has been introduced under the definition of PWM regulation. As I said, the plastic, there is one more new plastic packaging category is introduced is category 5, the name of biodegradable uh, plastics, biodegradable commodities. Now, the overall rule prior to this amendment was applicable only for plastic packaging. But with this recent amendment, the items which are made of compostable and biodegradable plastics are also falling under the obligation under the regulation. So it's no more only for plastic packaging, it's also including items made up from compostable and biodegradable plastics. Further, the EPR targets mechanism, there is no change as such. The methodology for calculations, the include scope of EPR target, all those remain same. There is not much change, but for the benefit of the larger audience, the target needs to be calculated basis last 2 years average plastic packaging consumption, which will include pre and post consumer waste as well. And to fulfill the targets, the requirement is the EPR credits from the registered plastic waste processor through the CPCB portal to ensure your compliances are done. Please move to the next slide. Now, referring to the key definition changes, which is very important to understand and how this is going to impact. One of the key change under the producer definition is inclusion of contract manufacturer units as well as manufacturer of intermediate products material. Now, to understand this for the all the larger audience and ecosystem, this definition is divided into two parts. One is the companies who are producing the plastic packaging or the converters. Another is the company plastic package. Another is the company who is further involved in converting, or the CMU. So let's read it down. That a plastic producer means a person engaged in manufacturing of plastic packaging and includes a person engaged in the manufacture of intermediate materials to be used for manufacturing plastic packaging, and also the person engaged in contract manufacturing of products using plastic packaging or through other similar arrangement for brand owners. So prior to this, there was a breakage of the reporting value chain of procurement of plastic packaging for a lot of companies who are operating in a P2P model, wherein how do you report the plastic packaging procured by your contract manufacturers. Now this has been clarified, wherein now the CMUs will need to register as a producer, and they need to report the procurement done by them and also sales made by them to the respective brand owner or any other producer if there is. And this brand owner need to take only the quantity of plastic packaging weight as their obligation, and CMU needs to transfer only the plastic packaging weight to the respective brand owners in their sales. So this is a major change which has clarified for a lot of industries who were facing a lot of problem of CMU and P2P model of working. Next is importer. In importer, they have also made a major change in which now they have included a word called commercial use. Now the definition stands that a person who imports for commercial use any plastic packaging or any commodity with plastic packaging or carry bags or plastic sheets or any other material or raw material, those will be forming under the importer obligation. So for example, if you're importing any machine for self use, which is coming packed under a packaging, that's not for commercial use, that's for production and production in house in your company and a unit. So commercial use here means what you are procuring or importing and then introducing into the market or selling it into the market. So that is what the commercial use, but this is not clearly defined, but that's a general parlance of understanding commercial use. Brand owner, there's no change the definition. In the manufacturer definition, it has changed. Now it includes person engaged in the production of plastic raw materials, including compostable plastic and biodegradable plastics. And as I said, seller entity is defined, which says means a person who sells plastic raw materials such as resins, pellets, or intermediate material used for product producing plastic packaging. So, but their registration requirement, their obligation, all those needs to be clarified as we wait certain clarification to be provided by CPCB and MOFCC. Further, under the same amendments, they have also said in case there is a delay in approval by SPCB for any registration, then in that case, after 30 days of registration filing, the application filing, the approval authority will be changed to CPCB, not S, and it would move from SPCB to CPCB. So this is what has been put into the rules to ease the registration and compliance process as well. Please move ahead. Yeah. Now, these are again the key definitions of the category 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and pre and post consumer plastic packaging waste. While there is very less change, there is no change in pre-consumer definition and post-consumer definition. However, the category 5 is been defined under the guidelines as plastic sheets or like used for packaging as well as carry bags and commodities made of biodegradable plastics. For the essence and for the ensuring for the larger audience, let me again go back in category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are those? So category 1 is rigid plastic packaging by nature, and category 2 is all flexible plastic including carry bag which are used in the packaging wrapping the commodity. But over here it includes only plastic related materials. So for example, there could be single layer plastics also, there could be multiple layer plastic, but all layers are of should be of plastics. So all those plastics packaging are covered under category 2. But if there is any plastic packaging or packaging which has plastic material and a non-plastic material as well, then that will covered under multi-layer packaging category 3. So for example, the beverage carton packs, the juice packs which comes is the category 3, which has a paper and a plastic. Category 4 definition remains the same, and category 5 definition, as I said, plastic sheet or like used for packaging as well as carry bags and commodities made of biodegradable plastics. Now, for the multi-layer packaging, there is a definition which has been given under the regulation PWM, wherein the multi-layer definition has been slightly amended, wherein the metallized layers are excluded and removed from the definition of the larger definition of MLP. Please move ahead. Now, there has been a change in the marking labeling as I spoke, wherein there should be a specified color and marking requirement for biodegradable and compostable plastics has been defined. Also, additional mention of certain key things under the compostable and biodegradable plastic needs to be done. For example, if it's a compostable plastic, apart from the EPR registration number, the specific CPCB registration number for compostable plastic, and additional color which will be defined by BIS, the producer need to mention compostable only under industrial composting on the packaging as well. Similarly, for biodegradable plastics, they need to mention biodegradable in, specify the number of days in which the plastic packaging will be degraded, and in which kind of recipient environment that packaging or biodegradable packaging will be degraded. That also needs to be mentioned under the marking and labeling. Further, a recent a big change wherein a lot of companies are today for looking forward for PCR and circularity, wherein in such cases each recycled plastics or plastic packaging or commodity shall bear a label of recycled having and specifying the percentage. And this mechanism on of all this claiming how much recycled plastic has been used, it needs to adhere to the standards which is Indian standard 14534 2023, which is titled as plastics recovery and recycling of plastic waste. So it talks about how what are the entire process of plastic collection, waste collection, recovery, recycling, and how if in case there is a verification and claim to be done, how do you ensure that a verified claim could be made through certain standard ISO and in European norms that need to be adhered before making any claims. And if it is used as a recycle, then according the polymer code need to be specified as a mandatory requirement for the recycled plastic packaging and commodity. Please move. Now, there is an amendment under the Rule 9, under the PWM regulations. So now Rule 9 deals with the responsibility of PIBOs. So they have completely replaced the clause, subclause 1 and 2 of Rule 9, wherein now they have said the PIBOs, the first and foremost responsibility established and through this amendment for PIBOs, it says the PIBOs who introduce any plastic packaging in the market shall be responsible for collection of such plastic packaging. That is the first and broad of the first and foremost responsibility of any PIBO. Second is where any PIBOs fulfill its EPR, the EPR through the portal by exhausting your EPR credits and fulfill as per Schedule 2, then it is deemed to be complied with his responsibility, which is mentioned under sub rule 1, which is of collection. So ultimately, what they are saying through this, that PIBOs are responsible for collection, but if they are fulfilling as EPR as per the guidelines, which is working with the registered PWP only and having the credits and subsequently setting it off on the portal and doing all the required compliances, then all your EPR fulfillment will be considered that the brand has done the collection and done all the necessary which are required. The third is that the Schedule 10, which is fine. So these are the key two amendment which has happened under the regulation for the responsibilities of PIBO. Please move. Another key amendment which has happened under the Rule 8 and Schedule 2 guidelines, para 15, is that they have, incorporated, they have amended and inputted the information about setting up of electronic trading platform, which is nothing, it's a market exchange, wherein there will be an external agency which will be facilitating this exchange, electronic exchange, and which will be regulated by the CPCB through CPCB authorization only, wherein buyer and seller will be, PWP and PIBO will need to register and do the buying and selling of the credits within the price range of 1.5 rupees per kg up to 5 rupees per kg, and the price discovery will be happening through bidding. That is yet to come, and clarity is yet to come. So this is about how the prices of the EPR credits shall be regulated through these exchanges, and through the market credit platform exchange, through which the trading will also be facilitated. So this is also happening from this is what government is setting up for ensuring transparent trading, controlling the prices, and that is what the government is also trying towards to set up. Another very important thing in Schedule 2, wherein the Schedule 2 Clause 15 talks about fulfillment of EPR responsibility obligation. Now, in this, they have added these three clauses. Now, this says that details of EPR certificate provided by PIBOs and manufacturers and PWPs shall be verified, and in case of differences, the lower figure will shall be considered towards fulfillment of EPR obligation under these rules. So, with the recent, more scrutiny and stringent actions from, CPCB, wherein they have been auditing the plastic waste processor and be figuring out a lot of non-compliances, this is towards that, wherein they will be stringent further making the guidelines for PWP and the PIO further stringent to ensure there is no leakages happening and no non-compliances happening. Not really clear or through the regulation as how this verification procedure will happen, whether the brand owners or PIBOs will be impacted in case of any differences, and there will be a monetary impact to the brands. That those things are not yet clarified, but this is a clause which has been inputted in guidelines which we must know. Another important thing, CPCB may allow purchase of EPR certificates where the deficit exists and surplus categories are available. So this is to ensure, let's say if there is a no enough credit available for category 4, then there is an excess available in category that excess can be utilized for fulfilling the category 4 requirement. So that is what they are talking about. Yeah, please move ahead. Now let's get into the this roles and responsibilities of manufacturer and importer of plastic raw materials. So basically the companies who deal in producing and supplying the plastic raw material, for example, let's say Reliance, Haldia Petrochem, Indian Oil, all these companies provide the raw material presence granules. So they are also covered under as an obligated entity now. They also need to take registration, do all the compliances, and report the purchase and sales, and ensure a lot of compliances, which I will take you through what are they need to do. So yes, as I said, they need to do the registration. They need to take up the obligation of EPR obligation of raw materials sold to micro and small producers, as micro and small producers are exempt of EPR obligation, but they still need to register. Further, there is one key thing this time they have added in the amendment and versus the draft, is that they have clarified if that micro and small producer is further selling those raw material or plastic packaging to brand owners or a registered producer who is not MSME, the obligation may shift, and the small producer, the obligation for those materials sold to registered PIBOs via MSME producer will not be shifted to the manufacturers. So basically, this particular clause has been inputted to ensure that there is no ways in which people can take benefit of this exemption from micro and small, so that people doesn't do lot of ill things or measures to ensure they move their obligation to micro and small and get relieved. Further, there will be quarterly reporting. Sales invoices needs to be validated by manufacturer, producer. While the EPR target of micro and small producer lies with manufacturer, but the micro and small producer still have the minimum obligation of using the recycled content, which is PCR, and minimum level of recycling and EUL need to be adhered by the manufacturer as applicable to PIBO. On top of the EPR obligation, registration, annual filing, all those obligations, they have additional responsibilities also mentioned under the regulation. One is they have a sales restriction. They cannot sell their materials to unregistered producers. The manufacturer shall not sell or provide or arrange plastics to be used as raw material to a producer or a seller who are not registered under these rules, and also to the entities who are involved in manufacturing of banned single-use plastics. Further, they have also mentioned that the manufacturer need to include in a clause in their sale contract with their customers that these raw material what this customers are purchasing from the manufacturer will not be used for using for producing prohibited SUPs, or not will be used for thickness for producing any plastic packaging which is below the thickness requirement. So all those things has been taken care of. They have also mentioned that the invoices of this sales from manufacturer to producer need to have the EPR registration number of the producers. So a lot of requirement for manufacturers, a lot of important things will now need to be ensured by the manufacturers and importer also. So similar kind of all this compliance need to be followed by the companies who are importing plastic raw materials today. So this is one big inclusion of manufacturer and importer, as in the full plastic value chain is now complete from one end till the end. It is being introduced in a like a packaging and wasted as a packaging waste in the market. Please move ahead. Now coming back to the responsibility of manufacturer of items made up from compostable and biodegradable plastic. There is very one key change in the definition of biodegradable plastics, wherein prior to this definition, so the definition change has happened, wherein they have included the environment of included fresh water and marine disposal also in the biodegradable definitions. So they have says biodegradable plastics means plastic other than compostable plastics which undergoes degradation by biological process in a specific environment such as land, soil, landfill, sewage sludge, fresh water, and marine, which was not covered last in the prior definition, without leaving any microplastics or visible or distinguishable or toxic residue, which has adverse environment impact. Very important to understand now that this biodegradable and compostable plastics are permitted for only specified items. For example, they are permitted for carry bags, for manufacturing carry bags, and items which are banned under specified SUP list, and specified items under rule 2B only. So plates, cups, glasses, cutleries, forks, spoon, knives, straws, trays, and all those which are defined under section 2B, those items are only allowed to be made from the biodegradable plastics, not everything. Because under 2A, there are plastic sticks, ice cream sticks, which are defined, which are not allowed for as of now for biodegradable plastic, because they have only specified and permitted for 2B, which are plastic glass cups, glasses, and those things, which is specified under which is reflected on this page presentation now. Also, there are certain conditions that there will be mandatory marking and labeling, which I told you in the earlier slides. If the biodegradable plastics or composite plastics biodegradable plastics is coming in contact of the food product, then the FSSI regulation need to be adhered separately. And uh, before marketing and selling this biodegradable plastics, the manufacturer need to take necessary approval, registration, and obtain certificate before marketing and selling. Further, now this manufacturers of biodegradable plastics and compostable plastics are obligated to take the EPR obligation. And currently under the PWM regulation, they have not specified any obligation on PIBO for such biodegradable plastics. And I'm again sticking to biodegradable plastics, not compostable. But yeah, so the items, the permitted items and commodity under this regulation and under this amendment, for those items with the manufacturer will be responsible for fulfilling the EPR targets, and currently no EPR target has been specified for the PIBOs. And how will they fulfill their obligation of this biodegradable plastic is by engaging with a local body. And in this case, local body will be issuing the EPR fulfillment certificates or EPR credits, if I may say, on the portal. So the local body will be authorized to issue such certificates of collection and disposal, and buying these certificates from the local body through a voluntarily mutually agreed terms and conditions or in the portal by manufacturer to exhaust or to fulfill their EPR obligation. Also, the manufacturer will also need to report the quantities of such commodities introduced in the market and also the pre-consumer waste generated. So in nutshell, the pre-consumer waste as well as whatever they are introducing into the market is their obligation, and they do need to report those on the portal. As I already said, that local authorities will generate, which is local authorities like municipalities, urban local bodies, shall generate EPR certificate equal to the biodegradable plastic collected by them and put to end of life biodegradation. So this is about responsibility of manufacturers of compostable and biodegradable plastic. There's one more key thing for for this industry who are involved in biodegradable plastic manufacturing is that in case the testing of a biodegradable plastic has already started before seeking registration, CPCB can ask for the applicant for retesting and permit production usage till the report till the report is received from the recognized laboratory. Applicant to submit a bank guarantee equal to the amount of EC as per Rule 18 for those things before the retesting and they permit it to be sold into the market. And in case the test reports are not in conformity to the standard, the bank guarantee shall be forfeited. So this is a mechanism again put by regulators to further stringent the regulation under biodegradable and to ensure only verified, only once tested properly and verified and accepted authorized biodegradable plastic only reach the market. Please move ahead. Now, apart from the PIBOs, apart from the PWP manufacturers, there has been a good amendment happened under the responsibility of local bodies. And when I say local bodies, I'm also including Gram Panchayat. Now, this local bodies will also require to do a reporting to CPCB by 30th June for the last pre-financial year in an annual report with the form which has provided under this amendment under this regulation, in which they need to give details of generation of plastic waste in their local area jurisdiction, the infrastructure of collection, the projection of plastic waste to be generated and collected, and how they are framing implementation, the bylaws, and action taken by them for against the prohibited SUPs. Not only that, the similar kind of responsibilities has been added for the gram panchayats, and they are asking a lot of reporting to be done by such urban local bodies and gram panchayat. On top of that, please move ahead. So they are also required to now start reporting to CPCB about the plastic waste problem, also SPCBs, which I'll come to the upcoming slide. There is no major change. Now coming back to the 2A, 2B, 2C, 2A, 2B kind of prohibited single-use plastics. So the biodegradable and compostable plastics are allowed for only cutlery items, packaging, wrapping film, other items which are mentioned under section 2B, not 2A. So again repeating, earbud sticks, balloon sticks, candy sticks, ice cream sticks, plastics is currently not allowed for biodegradable plastics. Please move on. There is no major change under this amendment for the circularity targets, and as of now there was no addition to that, but yeah, this is just an update. Go ahead. Yeah. Now you can see this slide. Now, how many people have the filing and reporting requirements under this EPR ecosystem? We as PIBO, PWP already have their reporting forms, reporting guidelines and timelines. Now, manufacturer and importer of raw material also covered, and they also need to do a lot of reporting and compliances. Seller is also there, but their registration requirement, those things are yet to be updated and clarified. Urban local body and Gram Panchayat need to also report by 30th June and Form 5, and they are required to report to a concerned additional chief secretary or principal secretary of UDD. and there will be online reporting module to be developed by CPCB for this. Further, SPCBs and PCCs will also start reporting on the actions and the work they are doing on this EPR system in their jurisdiction. So yes, now as they are going to report the status and the development and the progress in the plastic waste management, they will reach out to other stakeholders like PWP, PIBO for their respective states, even the urban local bodies. So this is now increasing the scope of the work is all EPR ecosystem is also increasing. So that is why I call it as a milestone amendment which has happened. Please move. Yeah. Now under the environmental compensation clause, there is no much change, and this is one slider about talking about what are the implication and penalties of environmental compensation under the regulation. But there is no change as in now in the under this particular segment. But yeah, this is just an FYI. Go ahead.
With this, I'm delighted to close this session for today. Once again, I thank everyone, each and every one of you, for joining the session today. And I hope you've had a wonderful and insightful session. For any queries, you may please reach out to us. Our email IDs are mentioned on the screen, and also we have mentioned it on the chat box. So please reach out to us.